Okay, so this will be the last video on the subject of Trump unless he starts doing stupid shit in his presidency. Then of course I have to talk about that, don't I, people? But this is the last video I will ever do on him for a long time now. Time to get back on track, time to get things rolling with other types of videos which I'm going to be doing for the rest of this week. But you may be thinking, Mitch, you're not covering the video you said you were going to cover in the last video. Well, I changed my mind. This video came to my attention. The other video's been done to death, and what am I going to add to that anyway? I don't know. So this one hasn't really been talked about much, hasn't been responded to much, and best of all, it's not punching down, it's not punching to the side, it's punching up, because believe it or not, this person has 2.5 million subscribers. Yes, that's right, and I'm of course talking about MyHarto, or MyHarto. I don't actually know how to pronounce her name, but she's called Hannah, and she's a very popular, obviously, YouTuber who runs the show, or at least appears on the show, My Drunk Kitchen, and has also appeared on TV, if Lil Miss Anonymous is to be correct. She's the one who sent me this video, thank you very much. She's also an author, or is about to be an author, I don't know, but hey, whatever. And she has some things to say about a Trump presidency, so take it away, Hannah, take it away.
The only good thing about Donald Trump winning is that it is an irrefutable marker of where we stand as a people.
And of course, you would know where America stands as a people, Hannah. You totally know where people stand when it comes to politics in your country. Am I right? I mean, you can read their minds, you can read the cultural zeitgeist as if it were like a children's book, which is very easy to read. Yeah, you know exactly where the country stands. It couldn't possibly be you coming to this conclusion through various generalizations and propaganda, but hey, whatever, I'm not going to judge you so soon.
This is America right now.
Well, I'm British. I don't know what America is right now. I have an idea. I don't consider that to be the factual representation of what America is. So you're going to have to tell me as an American.
So here's basically what happened in recent history. Donald Trump ran a campaign based on hate.
Oh, really now? He ran a campaign based on hate, did he? Have you any evidence that he ran a campaign based on hate? I mean, by that logic, so did Hillary Clinton, because she was going left, right and centre accusing white people and men and all sorts of people for voting for Trump, and her supporters were in on this as well, with all shaming people based on their race and based on their gender. But hey, it wasn't just white people and men who were subject to this. Anybody who was a woman or some kind of ethnic minority was shamed because they didn't vote the way that they ought to vote because they come from a particular demographic. And of course, these particular demographics, according to social justice in the class they've put them into, must think this way because reasons. But hey, Trump's the one running the hate campaign. But go on then, what's he said that's hateful?
He ran a irrefutably sexist, racist, xenophobic, immoral campaign.
If it's so irrefutable, you would provide me examples of him being racist. The only example I can think of is the thing about illegal immigrants, where he said some of them may be nice people, which by the way is borderline as fuck. Hell, it could well be a racist statement, but that doesn't necessarily mean the campaign as a whole was filled with hate. That's just one thing that he said, as far as I'm aware. That's for sexist, well, locker room banter with somebody off air, where he talked about what people let famous people do to each other, is apparently sexist. Yeah. And what made it immoral exactly? Since when were you the moral arbiter of truth? Because I'm pretty sure you're not.
And he won.
Yeah, he won. And he won it not just with the traditional Republican base, who are just as sceptical of him as we are. Believe it or not, I am sceptical of him. I'm not a fan. But I will call out bullshit whenever I see it. I've done it with Bill Clinton and Hillary in regards to the rape and sexual harassment stuff, as I did with Trump, funnily enough. Doesn't mean I like them. But anyway, where was I? Ah, yes. He had the backing of disgruntled liberals who wanted Bernie Sanders. He had the backing of demographics you wouldn't think usually vote Republican, but they do. Strangely enough, Muslims, Latinos, African Americans, and even the LGBT community, they had quite a lot of voters voting his way. But you can't really say it's a campaign of hate if these people are there at his rallies and they're not offended, they're not being attacked in any way by his more zealous fans. But hey, whatever. They had their reasons. They clearly didn't see him as that, and there's only really one piece of evidence that you can point to it. He was being prejudiced, but then again, that's it. That's the only thing you've got, and you've not even mentioned it. So yeah, carry on.
The majority of people that voted for Donald Trump were white women.
Oh really? Well that's interesting, because that just defeated your entire point. If most of the people who voted for him were white women, then how is it a hateful campaign? Because usually with you lot, it's a hateful campaign because he had a lot of white men who are poltards and people who spread Pepe memes everywhere. That makes it so hateful. And remember, women can't be hateful, they can't be sexist, they can't be this, they can't be that, because they're a oppressed class, you see. So apparently it's still a hateful campaign, despite the fact that most of his voters were white women. But then again, they're white women, so she's going to do the whole white feminist thing, or the intersectional feminist thing now, people. But again, if it's so hateful, why are these people voting for him if he's a sexist? Clearly he might not be if most of his voters were women, and I don't think their race has anything to do with it. Especially, as I said before, there were plenty of ethnic minorities voting for him.
College-educated white women voted for Donald Trump.
You see, you keep bringing up the fact they're white, yet you're calling him the racist. Are you sure that it's not you who's the racist here? I mean, I know you're white as well, but, you know, again, you keep bringing this up as if it's relevant when it's not particularly relevant at all. And yes, they're college educated as well, which doesn't necessarily mean that they are the smartest people in the world, but they know their stuff quite clearly, most of them. So, again, it's kind of defeating your point, isn't it? Because these people chose to vote for him rather than Hillary. It couldn't possibly be but that they made the educated assumption and reasoning that, do I go with the most corrupt politician we have known for possibly 40 years, with a nasty track record of flip-flopping and God knows what else, and warmongering, or do I go for the unknown, who has a checkered past himself, but is nowhere near as bad as hers? I think if you put two and two together, you can see where they're going with this.
And then the shocking fact that less than half of eligible voters voted. Less than half of eligible voters voted. There was so much at risk.
Oh yeah, Hillary would have started World War III to teach those pesky Russians a lesson and to get that long-awaited no-fly zone established in Syria, because that seems like a pipe dream of hers. And also the fact that we would then probably have to put up with 4 more years of hard, authoritarian social justice programs in education and within the state as well. So yeah, you'd have had that too. You would have had that too, but then again, you probably wouldn't be complaining about that, would you?
How could people not vote?
Well, let me put it to you like this, Hannah. There's a thing called voter apathy, and voter apathy is when people are so apathetic to voting because the system is either very corrupt, or they don't like the candidates, or a mixture of both, or any other reasons, so they choose to abstain. They're using their democratic right to abstain. And the fact of the matter is, the reason why only half of people voted is because the other half did not like either candidate, because you see, both parties fucked up massively. The DNC, with them basically rigging the primaries in favour of Hillary Clinton over the one person in the entire country who could have gone toe-to-toe with Trump and possibly have won the election, Bernie Sanders, while the Republican Party basically became so bad and so pathetic that somebody like Donald Trump could basically become their leader, their candidate for the election. It's your political system that's at fault here, not those people choosing to abstain or to spoil their ballot. I would have abstained as well because I didn't like what both had to offer. You can't shame them for doing something that you would, in all seriousness, have some sympathy with, right? This election was basically vote for the person you hate the least. That's basically what it was. Also avert World War III.
Now I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, that you probably don't want that to be true. And neither do I. I really don't want that to be true. So the question becomes, what do we do with this information?
Well, firstly, you could take the blow and then you can think, well, why weren't these people voting? What did my party do wrong? What did my side do wrong? What did their side do wrong? And how can we fix these mistakes to make sure that these things never happen again and we can get more people voting and be more confident in their political system? That's what I would do. But I don't see your side doing this at the moment. There's a few, but most of you seem to be more interested in doubling down on the things that got you in this mess in the first place. But I have yet to see what you are going to do with this. So, continue.
I believe we have the opportunity to really unify as a progressive people, so long as we accept responsibility where our responsibility lies.
Well, that seems reasonable enough. You seem to be going on the right path here, you know, accepting responsibility where your responsibility lies. Yep, that is very much true. Although not all people in the Democratic Party or who would vote Democrat if they wanted to aren't necessarily progressives in the sense that you are. But whatever, I'll let that slide. It's okay.
And I'm going to stop saying we or our or any of that and switch entirely to I. Because I can only talk about myself.
Again, a fair point, but to be fair, you really should be talking to the voter base as a whole, because it's their mistakes that have cost you this election. But this is your video, this is your opinion, so please, go on.
I am white, educated, liberal, gay. That's me.
Well, I'm mixed race, educated, straight, left-leaning. That's me. And
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Mitch.
I supported Bernie Sanders. I was a huge advocate of Bernie. I really wanted Bernie to be our Democratic nominee. I guess that I was on the side of Bernie, though, because he seemed like somebody who really represented the working class and minority groups, and also was a politician who somehow had remained true to his morals throughout his entire political career.
I myself also supported Bernie from a foreigner's perspective for similar reasons as that, although I don't really take race or minority status into account. I'm more of a class-based kind of guy, so the working class thing was very important, and his anti-corporate stances and his willingness to change things to combat this establishment, and the fact that, yes, he is consistent compared to Hillary. And even Trump's not that consistent. He seemed like the ideal candidate, but the DNC didn't think so.
Big advocate of Bernie. I was a big advocate of Bernie. But when Bernie didn't win the Democratic nomination, I voted for Hillary. Why? Because that was what I felt was the right thing to do.
Oh really? The right thing to do by voting in a partisan way to keep one person out because you have a preconceived notion of what he's like or what his party is like, and you don't know exactly what he's going to do, but you've been fed these things that this is what he's going to do, this is what he's like. So he decided to vote for the partisan way. You're going to vote for the one person who will flip-flop on any issue to get votes. She's not interested in your needs. She's not interested in anything other than her own self-interest and power. You betrayed Bernie. You betrayed those principles that you seem to share with him. I hope you can live with that, because that's not the right thing to do, clearly. If I were you, I would have voted Jill Stein, or hell, even Gary Johnson, or abstained, because why abandon those principles to keep one person out when you can let it burn?
I felt that that was the right thing to do because the evil became greater than my political views alone.
Right, love, keep deluding yourself. You know damn well that Trump is not as evil as Hillary, especially what she's been doing. Destabilising countries, voting for the war in Iraq, then later U-turning on it when she realised she could get votes on it. She was against your right to marry for years until she noticed she could get your vote if she decided to change her opinion. You were willing to vote for this evil person because the one person who actually is an isolationist and in the primaries actually attacked the war in Iraq and attacked all those people who voted for it to their faces is the bigger evil. Well, that's your opinion, but I think it's quite clear that between Bernie, Trump and Hillary, who is the most and who's the least evil? The least evil's Bernie, and the most? Well, you already made your decision on that, didn't you?
It wasn't just an argument of politics, it was an argument of race. And Donald Trump was a blatantly hateful person.
Did you actually research this yourself to find out and come to the conclusion that he is hateful? Or were you told he was hateful and you believed it and took it hook, line and sinker? Because if I'm going to decide whether or not somebody's hateful, I have to look at the evidence first. Now, somebody said something prejudiced once or twice or a few times. Does that make them hateful? Not necessarily. Makes them ignorant, maybe slightly bigoted, but hateful? Well, not necessarily. As in the arguments with AIU and his supporters, you can say racist, homophobic, sexist things, but not actually be racist, homophobic, or sexist. You just happen to say something that was like that. Could be through ignorance, a mistake, poorly worded arguments, could be anything. It could have been malicious as well, but then again, if that's the only thing you've ever said, that doesn't necessarily make you hateful. But hey, you're willing to listen and believe, so why am I even saying this? Plus, you've already mentioned this before, so we're just going to be repeating ourselves, won't we?
So you know what? If Hillary was the best shot in this country for that person not being president, then my politics can continue to adjust over time, and I will vote for her.
I guess you must have been living in a bubble while all this was happening, because a lot of the hateful stuff was actually coming out of the Democratic camp, not the Bernie bros or the Bernie supporters. I didn't see them really saying much at all that was hateful. But the Hillary supporters were constantly saying hateful stuff. You know, attacking white males, attacking males in general, attacking minorities who didn't vote Hillary or didn't vote at all, because they should, because Donald Trump is hateful, but we're going to hate on you and shame you racially and in gender-specific ways because you didn't vote the way we wanted you to. You're willing to vote for that side over a side that you think is hateful. Only you think. I've been told that is hateful. Really? Again, you're compromising your principles, your politics. You just thrown them out. You've not just changed them slowly over time. This was nothing more than tribalism for you, wasn't it?
So when people ask me, what can we do? Here are my thoughts if you want to hear them. I'm not telling you to do this, but if you want to hear what I think could help, here it is.
Again, another reasonable thing to say after all that stuff I had to go through.
Disclaimer. I'm not ordering anybody around, but here's what I think could help.
Yeah, no, neither am I. You said that before anyway, so we get the point. It's okay, you can say your opinion. That doesn't mean you're gonna tell people to do things, unlike the media and some other Hillary supporters. But hey, whatever.
1. Talk to the moderate conservatives in your life. Talk to your families. I guarantee you that some of you watching this video have family members who are Republican and voted for Donald Trump.
Absolutely, I couldn't put it better myself. I guess you're not all bad. I guess I was being too harsh, but then again, I am very harsh on people who abandon principles. Yes, undoubtedly, these people should be going and actually talking to the other side rather than protesting about a democratic result and rioting in Portland and other places. People actually need to settle down and actually talk to each other and actually work together and maybe try and convince each other of their stances. Who knows, they might end up agreeing with each other and a whole new consensus might be formed, but I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is, most of the people on your side of the argument aren't that open-minded.
So make Thanksgiving awkward. If it's your aunts and uncles, talk to your parents and say, hey, can we as a family talk to your sibling? Because I find them to be racist and I need them to explain to me how voting for a bigot means that they aren't racist.
And you were doing so well, but already you're doing this stupid shaming tactic, this smearing tactic, by labelling all his supporters racist because you think he is racist, he is this, he is that, when you don't actually have any evidence to show that he is, other than you're saying he is, therefore he is, and that therefore these people must be because they voted that way. See, this is why you lost. This is why the Democrats failed, because they tried to smear all his supporters, they tried to smear him, even smear people who were neutral as racists and homophobes and this, that and the other. If you claim to be so open-minded, if you claim to want to talk to these people, stop calling them names, stop doing what got you into this mess in the first place. And again, if you were so open-minded, wouldn't you have gone and actually researched his points? Would you have gone and watched whole speeches of his or read up on his website what he believes until he U-turned on a lot of the policies on there? But no, instead you just base your arguments on what the media and what people tell you rather than actually doing it yourself. And you're telling people to go out there and debate, but not to debate and come to some kind of consensus or just to talk about it in general, but to convince these people to be progressives and Democrats, where that's probably not going to happen, and it feels like you're trying to convert these people while also smearing them. Yeah, good one.
Confront them. Ask them. If you're a member of a white family with Republicans who voted for Trump, and you consider yourself to be a liberal, and you consider yourself to be not racist, prove it.
You do know, just because these people are liberals doesn't mean they're not racist, right? And again, why are you doing this guilt by association thing on them? They're supposed to be on your side, yet you're basically saying you're either with us or against us, and you have to prove yourselves that you're not racist because these family members are conservatives. These conservatives might not be racist either, yet you have to prove you're not a racist because of your family members. That's sick. That would be like me saying, are you sure that you're not some kind of man-hating crazy feminist because your friends happen to be like that? That's just insane. That's rude.
Talk to them. It's way less scary than what a lot of other people in this country have to go through.
Yeah, it's funny because it's very hard to talk politics in this particular climate when you can actually lose your job over shit like this, or you could even be disowned by people. Believe me, this election I have seen so many people fall out over the most ridiculous shit on both sides. But hey, whatever, it's not worse than some people, these groups that I have assumed go through these things because they're not individuals, they're groups. Speaking of groups,
people have a right to be upset.
well, yeah, of course they have the right to be upset. It's an emotional reaction. However, they do not then have the right to go and cause disturbances and riots, do they? Or participate in the shaming of people who voted a particular way.
Minority groups have a right to be upset with white people. Period. And like, my job as a white person is to go, you're right. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, you are pathetic. White guilt? Seriously, most of the Democratic voters were also white. And again, white people as a demographic didn't actually do anything wrong because lo and behold, these are people who are individuals and have their own ideas and viewpoints and voted or did not vote based on those particular viewpoints. Likewise, minorities are individuals with their own viewpoints, with their own ideas and voted or did not vote based on said ideas and interests. You are not the spokesperson spokesperson for all white people, nor are you the spokesperson or the arbiter for all minorities. Think, because believe it or not, these minorities aren't all the same cultural or even politically. An African American is not the same as an Asian American or an Indian American or whatever. In fact, you're just Americans. You're Yanks to me. Just like we're all British. We're all individuals with their own ideas. Like I said before, some of those people who aren't white voted for Trump. Some didn't. Some voted Gary Johnson or Jill Stein or didn't vote at all. Nobody should be apologising on behalf of some demographic for nothing because of a democratic vote. You weren't voting in Hitler. I don't want to go all Godwin all of a sudden, but then again, you lot do think he is literally Hitler. You know, maybe then you'd have something to apologise for, but he's not like that. But then again, you think he's like that, so I'm fighting an uphill battle or just a losing battle.
It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. But we can do more.
You know, I was waiting for that taking responsibility part, but I don't see any. All I see is salt and doubling down, and it's glorious.
And so don't get butt hurt if people are upset right now. Let people have their feelings. If somebody's like, oh, that safety pin's so fucking stupid, be like, okay, I hear you. I get it. I know. It's not enough. I'm sorry. Let's move forward together because I want to help you. I want to stand by your side. Please tell me how.
Well, I have nothing to apologise for, neither do you. You voted one way, you lost, and I'm not butthurt that people are sad. What I'm annoyed at is that these sad people, not all, but some, are going out there and causing trouble. But then you're repeating yourself there. And yeah, the safety pin is dumb. It's nothing more than baseless virtue signalling. That's all it is. And I don't think you should be trying to tell other people to tell you what to do because they don't have any idea what to do either. That's why you lost. Just because they're minorities doesn't mean they know any better than you. Take it from a minority.
My biggest concern is that we won't be able to get our shit together and unify. It's easier to be unified in hate than it is to be unified in progress.
And that's exactly what you people were doing. Nothing that the Hillary camp proposed were in any way progressive, only regressive. At least what Bernie was offering was actually genuinely progressive in some cases.
Because what we're trying to achieve is taking a bunch of different interests and a bunch of different people who've lived through 1,000 different myriad of life experiences and mush it all together and say, we feel, but it's not a bunch of we's, it's a bunch of individual I's, which is what makes America great.
Then why were you collectivizing these people earlier and generalizing like minorities, white people, and all that bullshit? You're inconsistent as fuck.
Lastly, I want to close with this. Change takes time. We as a generation are very fortunate to live in an era that our past generations have brought to us.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say a lot of them lived in much better times than we do.
And our job is to continue to move it forward. And just because we didn't get 100% of what we wanted in the moment we wanted it, doesn't mean it's over. Not by a long shot. Now we're having really blunt conversations.
What conversations? All you guys are doing is virtue signaling and doubling down. You're not actually having conversations. Some people might be trying to, but they're getting drowned out by you people who are virtue signaling, who are smearing people. But there's also people like you, Hannah, who are a bit of both, a bit inconsistent, who are saying one thing but doing another, and it's making everything worse.
America is racist. Period.
No, it's not. Just because you say it is doesn't mean it isn't. And by the way, you are the same country that elected Barack Obama. But then again, I guess he must be an Uncle Tom or a coon, because whenever somebody says it is a racist country and you bring him up, he's clearly just some insider, some race traitor or something. But then he's usually used as a paragon of progress by the same people as well. So again, you are just saying these people are racist. You're not actually proving that they're racist. You're not saying anything. Just they're racist. Take my word for it. No, you are not the arbiter of what these people are. That is a fallacy.
That's something we need to focus on. Let's take this and learn from it. Let's educate ourselves. Let's learn from this.
Well, I don't know about you, but from what you said now, I don't think you are going to learn. I think you're just going to double down, you're going to create divides, as you have been doing in this video, you are going to pit people against each other as they desperately try to prove that they're not racist just because they know somebody who's a Republican. And well, you'll be back to square one, losing elections. So yeah, good one.
The best way to take ownership of this experience is to learn from it and do more and do better. Have a great day.
Yeah, you can say all these wishy-washy things that are correct, but at the same time, you can't just go and say these other things that completely contradict that thing. And well, people, that's the end of the video. What an incoherent, inconsistent mess of a video. I'm not just talking about me. This has been Charming Man 93. Like and share the video, subscribe to my channel, donate to my Patreon, and I'll see you all later.